Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's a hearty dish from Pakistan that you can get on the table in under an hour. Here to share a recipe from the March-April edition of Christopher Kimball's Milk Street Magazine, we welcome back editorial director J.M. Hirsch. J.M., how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. So this dish, I understand, is something that you like to make quite a bit.
I make this all the time, actually. And, you know, I know probably every cook who gets on here says the same thing, but I actually really make this all the time. It's easy. It's fast. It's got a ton of flavor. It doesn't use anything crazy in terms of ingredients. And it's really versatile. You know, the one we're making today is with chicken.
Okay.
But I sometimes substitute cauliflower for the chicken. I've substituted tofu. It's really good. Really easy,
I'll stick with the chicken, but thank you, J.M.
Yeah.
Good one.
I like my cauliflower.
Yeah.
Well, what we're doing is, so, you know, the thing about Pakistani cooking is most of it is low and slow. They love their meats.
Oh.
They love to cook them over low heat for a long time to draw out lots of big flavor.
Right.
It's a great technique, works amazing. This is a bit of an anomaly in terms of Pakistani cooking. I learned it in Lahore, and it is a fast stir-fried that the power ingredient actually is just tomatoes. And you're taking those tomatoes and you're reducing them into a glaze that coats the chicken, in this case,
Right.
tofu or cauliflower. Fine.
Sure.
And you're reducing them to a glaze, and it is just so wonderful. So all we're doing here, and by the way, the name of the dish, Karahi, actually comes from the name of the pan that it's usually cooked in.
Oh.
If you could imagine this pan without a handle, that's a Karahi.
Oh.
It's kind of a shallow wok that is used for a lot of cooking in Pakistan. And so it's the name of both the pan and the dish you cook in.
Okay.
So all we've got here is a couple tablespoons of butter and some chicken thighs, boneless, skinless, that we've cut up into 1.5 inch chunks. And we're just kind of browning them a little bit. We don't want to cook them all the way through. We're just giving them a little bit of flavorful coloring. And that's it. And we're going to take them off the heat and put them aside into a plate just for the moment. Now, when you do that, you want to leave as much of the fat as you can back in the pan, okay? Because we're going to use that fat, because as we all know,
but you
fat
use skinless chicken, right?
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
boneless, skinless.
Yep.
But we put a little bit of butter in there.
Oh, that's what it is.
We're
Okay,
going to
gotcha.
use that, yes,
Okay.
to brown it. Now, I hear you love as much spice as you can handle, especially on air, right?
Yeah, to our viewers,
Is that what I hear?
we know he's being sarcastic. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, one of the magic ingredients is serrano chili.
Okay.
Now, our recipe calls for 3 of them chopped.
Wow.
But the beauty of this recipe, tone it down to whatever you want.
Sure.
And if you want even less heat, use jalapenos. Those are a lot more mild. And so, in your honor, I'm only going to use a little bit. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're going to throw that in with the fat that's left in the skillet, and you're going to cook that a little bit. Now, what you don't want to skimp on is the spicing. Spicing is a really important part of Pakistani cooking.
Yeah.
And so this is 2 teaspoons of ground cumin.
Ooh.
Throw in there. And 2 teaspoons of ground coriander.
Don't you feel
And
like
what
it's
we're
really,
doing-
when it comes to different cultures of food, it really is mostly about the spice?
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
And you know what? They use the spices in so many ways that just, frankly, embarrass me as an American, because we don't explore our spices nearly as much as a lot of other cultures do.
Yeah. And weren't you just in Italy too and experiencing great food there? I'm sure with spices as well.
For a month. It was amazing, but I'm going to tell you, a month of pasta and Parmesan, that's a lot of pasta and Parmesan, okay?
Oh, not a problem for me. But you learn from the people there, just like you did in Pakistan. You learn from the people there, the chefs there, yeah.
That's why we go, because all over the world, we learn from home cooks, professional chefs. They share with us the recipes they grew up on, and we get it's the honor of bringing them back here and sharing them with you and with all our readers. So now what I'm doing, I've added 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of coriander, and a teaspoon of garam masala, which is a spice blend very popular across Pakistan and India. It's warm spices, but it's not spicy spices,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Sure.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
cinnamon and cloves, things like that. We're going to brown that a little bit, and then we're going to add about a tablespoon of tomato paste.
Okay.
Because when you brown tomato paste, boy, do you get a lot of flavor out of it.
Oh,
You're
sure.
caramelizing all the natural sugars in it. It's amazing. So you're going to brown that. And by the way, so you'll see that I added garlic and ginger that had already been minced up.
Right.
One of the coolest tricks I learned in Pakistan, they use so much fresh garlic and so much fresh ginger that what they do is they make a paste out of them and they keep it in the refrigerator and they use it all week. I thought that was kind of brilliant.
Yeah,
and so
that's
I
smart.
started doing that. I mean, obviously it only works if you're using a lot of ginger and garlic in your cooking. But boy, you throw that in the blender with a little bit of vinegar to keep it fresh, and you keep that in the fridge all week, and it's so easy to add that to anything you're cooking, rice or chicken, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Steak even, so good. Now, I've just added about 8 ounces of tomatoes. You'll notice that I used grape tomatoes that I cut in half. Our recipe actually calls for plum tomatoes, which have a very low moisture content and a lot of flesh to them that we normally would grate. And they're wonderful, but I live in the Northeast, not tomato season. And the tomatoes yesterday when I went to the grocery store were awful.
Yeah.
And, this is the reality of cooking. And so what do? Do you not make dinner? Of course not. You buy the next best thing.
Absolutely.
In this case, cherry tomatoes.
Cherry tomatoes, yeah. I like them, actually. So we just have under 30 seconds here to pull it all together. What do you suggest?
All right.
Okay, let's put the chicken in.
So I'm going to add, you're going to cook those down until the tomatoes break down. And then you're going to cook that. And that's it. You're going to reduce the tomatoes until they become a glaze. And what you end up with is this gorgeous.
That looks wonderful.
And you're going to put that on a plate. There we go. And then you can top it with some fresh mint and some yogurt. And it's going to be rich and sweet and tangy and only as spicy as you want it to be.
JM, thank you. We want to tell everyone again, it is in the March-April edition of Christopher Kimball's Milk Street Magazine. JM, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.